So today we're focused on SOCs and SIEMs specifically, and managed security trends. We're going to cover 4 reasons why we think you need a SIEM SOC, and actually why the industry thinks that. And we're going to contrast it with things like XDR, MDR, and just managed servers security products overall, managed services for security products. One of the reasons we wanted to do this webinar is to clarify what's going on inside the industry. It's really been fairly confusing, even to people that are day in and day out, and especially with the security vendors, the product vendors are announcing, and what they're doing on their websites and what they're saying they do is extremely confusing. So we're going to try to demystify that a bit and kind of say what's what, and what isn't what they say it is. So a SIEM SOC itself is just as a quick overview. I don't know if it's quick or not, but it's an overview. Is that it's a security monitoring solution that is designed to manage and monitor the entire security system that you have. It's a top-level security managed detection and response solution. It broadly detects threats and attacks, the emphasis on broadly, analyzes the attacks and prioritizes the severity and the solutions, and determines the appropriate mitigation options. The other thing about SIEMs is that they enable regulation compliance, which you don't necessarily get that from an MDR or an individual managed security product. It supports cyber insurance requirements, especially as those expand. It does allow you to satisfy the overall objectives, information security management systems, or that process that pretty much all regulations talk about, going from assessing, preventing, detecting, and respond in that entire circular process. And that it provides top-level detection and response, very emphasis on top level. SIEMs are managed by a SOC team, or if you don't manage it with a SOC team, you're not going to have adequate resources to configure it, tune it, monitor the attacks, the threats, the compromises, looking for indications of attack, indications of compromise, the ability to provide threat hunting and discovery, and even vulnerability assessment, and to provide threat alerts and recommend recommendations, and to help contain attacks, which is primarily what you're going to do after you get an alert from these systems, and then enable remediation. So let's go one more slide, and this is just an overall view of what a SIEM generally looks like. Most SIEMs today, especially as they're managed by, if it's a managed service for a SIEM, it's going to be generally a cloud implementation. It can be implemented completely from the cloud, and unlike individual security monitoring, it's a tool that ingests security and information and event information from all your security, and also your core IT, which is a differentiator. And it provides real-time monitoring, alerting, and remediation. That's the core of what that is trying to do. And to do that, it has to monitor and gather information from all your security devices, your security controls, your core IT like servers and networks, vulnerability scans that it runs. Typically, they have included in them threat feeds and user behavior, and looking at user behavior to understand whether something inappropriate is being done. And then it correlates all of that. It's going to analyze it, looking for indications of attack and compromise, and then it provides standard and customized rules, including AI and machine learning rules. It generates alerts, and then when the customer is alerted, those attacks can be blocked, which would be your first reaction. And then the technicians will have the tools on a SIEM to do threat hunting and forensics, to be able to look for root cause analysis and be able to do further remediation or more detailed remediation. So next thing is what's going on with the industry research, right? Industry research, you always have to include that in your presentation and anytime you talk about a topic. Gartner's done a ton of research on this stuff, and there's other studies that are also available. The overall conclusion, especially by Gartner, is that managing, at the top level, like a SOC, is an overwhelming job, and that the skill shortage, coupled with increased levels of specialization that you need for SIEM and a SOC makes in-house management almost impossible, even for enterprises. So it found that even enterprises, when they try to implement these things, often fail because of the amount of effort it takes to do them. So so their conclusion was, if you're a small to medium-sized company, you shouldn't, it's not something you should even try, because it takes so much effort to do that, and it's just better to outsource it. Now, the reason for that is skills shortage, training issues, problems hiring and maintaining a staff, the large staff that's required to manage a SOC, and the cost involved in all that is very difficult for even an enterprise to try to attain. So let's look at the 4 reasons. Actually, I have 4.5. I cheated, but the 4 reasons that you need a SIEM SOC. The first one is regulation, and that's really the biggest driver of pretty much everything in security. And regulations require 3 major components for compliance. First one is third-party risk assessments, which define gaps and help you with prioritize your solutions and the time frame and everything else. And then appropriate security controls, which is a broad term defining to make sure that every company, depending upon your size and your situation, is going to have a different set of requirements, but the controls that your company has have to be appropriate for you, within your budget and determined by the risk assessment. Lastly is actively manage your security. So there's that. If you dissect that, there's multiple components to that too. The first one is that you want to use a risk management process to assess, define, implement, and manage your security. And you want to use prevent, detect, and response type solutions, right? In the old days, everything was prevent. Now we have detect and respond. So that's kind of reflected in the little chart on the lower left. And then the second component of that is to satisfy 3 areas of security management compliance. The first one is security monitoring, where SIEM SOC fits squarely. And the SIEM SOC is the highest level of attainment for that category, but it's very super important. And then actively manage your controls. So your controls being everything from endpoint security, firewalls, and everything else, MFA. Actively manage them with an emphasis on actively. This is what companies get. This is the kind of thing that a company will get with outsourced managed security, is an actively managed solution. And lastly, develop an incident response capability, which includes planning and ability to respond. So that's really the whole category of regulation. It's quite complicated. There's a bunch of stuff in it, but security monitoring is squarely in the middle. I'm trying to highlight something. Oh, there we go. Security monitoring is right in the middle of that. So 1B, cyber insurance. Well, cyber insurance is increasing the requirements to qualify for policies annually, and it's in that sense, cyber insurance is becoming a major driver for increased security. We're seeing it just like when regulations were coming along, and now even ransomware, when that came along, everybody was focused on that. A lot of companies are focused on cyber insurance today, and for companies buying cyber insurance, it's a good bet that over time the need for regulation compliance security will become the standard. And the reason we think that is because insurance companies are losing money, a lot of money, and insurance claims are going up, which is the reason they're losing a lot of money. And those claims are going up and they're more frequent. So as a result, cyber insurance companies are fighting back. They either have to get out of the industry, which they're not planning to do because it's a high growth market, but instead they're raising rates. And lastly, they're increasing requirements every single year and what it takes to qualify for cyber insurance. So if you're a betting person and you're looking at the future implications of what you should do with your security, treat cyber insurance similar to compliance regulation and regulation compliance, and you will make the right bet. So reason number 2, preventing evasive attacks. Well, we know evasive attacks have been a big issue for companies, and it, like over 20% of attacks remain undiscovered inside your systems for months. 10% are undiscovered for years. Advanced persistent threats, which used to be a huge topic, have now quietly become the ongoing norm for attacks, where they're phased attacks in your system, moving from one stage to the next, and the ability to catch those. And of course, they're designed to be very quiet. So the ability to catch them requires something that is detection technology, and a SIEM is the best able to do that because it monitors the entire system. And it correlates information from all sources. It can catch lateral movement of attacks, which is what you're looking for. It uses AI and machine learning. So if you're looking at everything, and it stands to reason, if you're looking at everything and you're looking at something that monitoring it all the time, you've got a better chance at catching those attacks and then reacting to them. Third area of focus and reason for SIEM SOCs is achieving balanced security. And so, why balanced security? And the obvious answer to that is because attackers always attack the weakest link, right? So put all your money into one thing, that isn't going to work. Too much money into three things, but there's two other things you haven't done, that's not going to work. They will, the attacks, in addition to being multi-stage APTs, they are designed to attack the weakest link. And so how do you combat that? We figure out what your strategy is, you prioritize it, and then you allocate your budget across them as best you can. And the great thing about security solutions today is most of it's software, and it can be economically sourced if you have budget issues, but you can at least know where you need to allocate your funds. So that requires, usually some kind of a risk assessment of some sort. You've got to determine where your gaps are, prioritize them, and then define solutions for your company's specific situation. And lastly, you have to add detect and respond solutions. You can't ignore that and say, oh, my EDR does that, or I can go look at the dashboard on some security solution like a firewall, and that's adequate. That isn't adequate. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So reason number 4, to provide a real-time picture, basically a complete picture of your security, right? And this is the whole concept behind a SIEM, and that it can monitor, detect, and respond. It takes input from all your security controls. Could you try? All your security controls and your IT, your key IT, including users, network, servers. You're going to get a much better picture if you gather information from all of this, correlate it, analyze it, and then apply your rules to that determine whether or not these are significant alerts. And it's going to catch things that you won't catch otherwise. It's the way you get the big picture. You can get a visual picture of that. You will get alerts on areas that need to be analyzed, and those are things that the SOC will do. They will determine whether these things are real threats or not, and then if there is a false positive, you can change the rules so that you don't get that again. So I think that's pretty much describes that, the complete picture concept. It's the same thing they talk about when you're looking at a vendor product line. They say we have one management tool for everything. I mean, that's the concept is universally a good idea. In this case, you want to have a complete view of all your security. So in summary, the problems that Advanced SIEM solves is regulation compliance by actually solving several different areas. One is it provides 24/7 monitoring and management. The ability to provide adequate and appropriate security and controls is bolstered by having something in that category. It does give you active security management, which you wouldn't necessarily otherwise have, and it does allow you to protect, detect, and recover. Protect, detect, and respond and recover. So you're providing those detection and response kind of capabilities that you wouldn't otherwise have. Provides increased security by providing the protect, detect, and respond, but also by securing your cloud assets as they move into the cloud, right? And so you've got users, data, servers, applications. Your network is partially in the cloud, and your controls are in the cloud as well, partially. So everything now is distributed and in the cloud. The problem in trying to manage that and protect it is very, very difficult. And so you need something like a SIEM that gathers information from everything. It's going to reduce your overall IT cost and impact on your internal teams, because you're not going to have to try to staff for a 24/7 team. You don't have to have security experts in every area. And it's just kind of out of reach of most companies. Allows you to focus on other things. So another way to view management and managed security and security monitoring is looking at it from the point of view of overall value add. So an individual security products are really the lowest level of solutions for management, right? Because you're only managing individual silos of security. They're not really talking to each other, but they're managed, so you're getting a lot of value out of having something that's very fully managed, and you don't have to staff it and that sort of thing. So that adds value. But when you start looking at like managing things with managed detection and response, you have to look at products like EDR, where the actual product has been enhanced to provide detection and response, and then managing that with a team that's got the resources to take care of it, do the monitoring, do the threat detection, do the threat hunting, whatever else, even forensics if it's available. At the very top of that, though, is really the apex solution, which is the SIEM, the managed SIEM. And the managed SIEM, again, is the reason I put a box around this whole thing is because it's really an integrated solution where the SIEM coexists with all of this stuff, but it is the top solution in terms of monitoring and managing your security. And if you look at the apex solution, like of a SIEM SOC, like a great white shark is an apex. And great white sharks, actually, similarity is great white sharks consume everything in their path if they can. A SIEM also consumes everything that it can find. So it's consuming the information from your security products and controls, and also your IT infrastructure. And it provides 24/7 monitoring, detection, correlates, analyzes, classifies, provides threat hunting and incident response, and then compliance level assessments and reporting. So if you were to try to manage this, which we've already said is not really something that most companies can do, you would have to first you have to start with the right SIEM, and then you'd have to have a team, a 24/7 team that could staff it with expertise on it. You'd have to have experts in different areas of the SIEM, because you've got monitoring, you've got analysis, you've got threat hunting, you've got forensics, and then you've got to have redundancy in all those areas because it's 24/7. So again, it's an enormous task. It's not something that even enterprises are wanting to do as much anymore, even though they used to. So if we go look at eSecurity solutions, our solution is an extensible managed SIEM SOC with a managed security stack. So our view of the world is you got the SIEM, you got the SOC at the top, you've got a SIEM here that's correlating and ingesting information from your security controls and from your monitored IT infrastructure here, and correlating all of that and providing one big picture and doing complete monitoring, detection, and response. And basically it provides the ability. It also includes things like vulnerability assessments, automated vulnerability assessments, a FIM, file integrity monitor, user behavior analysis, monitoring correlation analysis, threat hunting, alerting, and response support. With real-time monitoring, all your multi-vendor solutions as well, right? So you got multi-vendor support, which is you don't necessarily get, you wouldn't get with an XDR, because XDRs are defined as being within a product line. And I don't think anybody would think that having all your security solutions from one vendor is a good idea. So you really want a solution that can work with everything. So then if you take that approach, and then what we would say is we also can manage these areas as well. So we can provide the SOC SIEM, and then we can manage any of these areas to combine and provide a stack of managed solutions for your company. Includes everything that's listed there. So here's a quick summary of our SIEM. It's fully managed, it's cloud hosted, completely cloud hosted, 24/7 managed detection and response. It provides monitoring detection of indications of attack and also of compromise. It monitors your security, your servers, your network, your user behavior, provides file integrity and Windows policies analysis. It does threat hunting, incident triage, remedial assistance, vulnerability assessments, and host asset inventory. Gives you a 1-year log retention, provides comprehensive and periodic reports that are compliance-based reports, does a baseline analysis at the beginning of the project to like a CIS benchmark. And from a regulation compliant point of view, it is, meets the requirements of all of these and any others that are looking for security monitoring. So the other thing is, again, some of the softer side here is we provide baseline assessment reports, vulnerability assessments, compliance reports, and customer advisory. So if there's anything going on where there's, some latest attack is attacking the industry, you'll be getting an advisory report on that and telling them whether or not that's something that we expect to see, we are seeing, or we've already seen and we've already mitigated. And so lastly, eSecurity as a company is really a full cycle security solution company. Our goal is, we've been in this business for 20 years. We provide full information security management system solutions, starting with risk assessments, recommendations, security products themselves, which we provide with the leading vendors, and then managing the security. We have like I said, we have a stack of managed security solutions, and our customers are fairly broadly spread across multiple industries.